So as a human being, just as a person, we have 6 basic needs that we need to get met. And I was reading the book by John Bradshaw, Healing the Shame That Binds You, and these needs related so much to marriage. Because in marriage, although you're older now, you often bring your little self with you, right? You bring your childhood traumas, you bring the needs that weren't met, you bring the tendencies, you bring the ways of being into your marriage that you learned as a child. So the first basic need is self-value. So not only did your husband or your wife need to be valued when they were little, but they have that same need as an adult in marriage. So I wanted to talk about these 6 basic needs, because if your husband or wife isn't getting these needs met, there's definitely going to be disconnection and tension and things that you don't want in your marriage. So I'm going to talk about the 6 needs, and then you can check in with yourself whether you're helping to meet those needs or that those needs are continuing to be unmet in your relationship. So when you think about self-value, the first basic need, that's a sense of mattering and being wanted and being taken seriously. So with your spouse, do you make them feel like they matter, like their opinion matters, who they are matters? Do you take them seriously, or do you just brush it off and your needs are the only ones that matter? Or when they have a new idea, you have a bunch of things to say about it and you critique them and have questions, and they get this sense, like you don't ever say it that they don't matter, but based on how you respond to them, do you meet that need of self-value? Do they feel like they matter in the relationship? Because sometimes, whether it's the husband or the wife, we can bulldoze our other spouse. And just unknowingly, if you have a strong personality, you can bulldoze the other person and they feel like they don't matter in the relationship. So just a great check-in. Do I allow my spouse to feel valued for who they are, not for who I want them to be? For how they act, not the way how I want them to act. Do they value with their uniqueness, with the way that God made them, with their strengths, with their weaknesses? Do I make them feel like they are valued? So the second thing is, the second basic need is stimulation, right? So is there fun? Is there excitement? Is there playfulness in your marriage? And ladies, I think that this is where we get to shine. At Rise Up Queens, we talk about being playful and fun and bringing that self out, because when you have children and they have all these needs that have to get met and you're focused on them and focused on that every day, sometimes you lose that playful side. And then husbands, if you're deep in your business and you're super focused and you're going after goals and you're constantly achieving, you can sometimes lose that fun and that playful side. But the basic human need, the second basic human need, is stimulation and fun. So how are you bringing fun into your marriage? I recently challenged one of my private coaching clients to show up in a trench coat and lingerie and just do something that she hasn't done. She didn't agree to that, but she agreed to do an intimate gesture, like something to add fun and excitement into their marriage. So when was the last time you guys had fun together and laughed together? I mean, maybe tonight after seeing this video, there needs to be a wrestling match that happens in your living room between the two of you, and just something new, something fun, something exciting. Comment below if it's appropriate with what you're going to do to bring fun. Just bring new stimulation into your marriage. I would love to hear it. So the third need is sociality. And what I mean by that is they get affirmed for their feelings and needs. So do you create a space where your spouse can come to you with their needs and come to you with your feelings? This was a big point of conflict for Skylar and I in the beginning of our relationship, because he thought that when I would share something or go through something, he heard it as complaining. And he thought that it was his job to fix that. So 1, to get me to stop complaining, but then 2, to solve it. But that only created more challenges with us. When he tried to solve what I was sharing with him or solve my feelings, I felt like I wasn't being heard. And when I wasn't being heard, I wanted to talk louder and I wanted to prove louder. But in me sharing my feelings and sharing my needs, all I wanted was for him to hear me. And sometimes I didn't even need that need to get met. I just needed to be heard as a woman. And so do you create a space for your spouse to share what they need and share what they want? And I know that I didn't do that in the beginning for Skylar. If he shared a need or shared a want, I instantly took it personal. And I made it about me. And so he stopped wanting to come share his needs because I would make them about me. And it would create a fight in between us. And so I had to learn to, when Skylar wants something more, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not good enough. It just means hey, he wants to take the relationship somewhere that we've been unwilling to go yet. And so I had to disconnect, making it about me and self-bashing me and blaming me, and just be hopeful to, wow, how can we continue to make this better? So are you creating a space where they can have feelings and needs? The fourth basic need is structure. And part of structure is dependability. Can your spouse depend on you? Do they know that you're going to be there? Or do you threaten them with divorce once a month? Or threaten them that you want to be out of the relationship? Or give signs that you're not committed fully to the relationship so that they don't feel like you're dependable? Are you actually dependable? Does your spouse know that you're in it long term? No matter what, you're going to be there for them. Can they depend on you? Because if they can't depend on you, I guarantee you're creating a relationship where you or both of you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And when you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out in a relationship, it creates a space where I want to protect myself. I gauge whether I should go all in and I should show up for you based on how you show up for me. And so it creates this relationship where if you do it, then I'll do it. Or if you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. And it's very reactive to the other person. So if the other person is having a bad day, I'm going to maybe withdraw because I'm going to assume it's about me. Because I'm constantly checking in. Am I okay? Is this safe? Am I going to get hurt? And if there's a sense that I'm going to get hurt, I'm going to withdraw. And so maybe this could challenge you to be more dependable. Can you up your level of commitment with your spouse? Prior, I recorded a video on commitment. I'd go check that out because there's different levels of commitment. And if you're not operating at the highest level, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, then your relationship could be suffering in the dependability. So the fifth basic human need is security. And that's sometimes not something we need to provide as spouses. That's food, shelter, clothing. And so together, if you're both working, you're doing that. And so that doesn't necessarily apply to marriage so much. But the sixth basic need that's talked about in this book, Healing the Shame That Binds You, is stroking. So stroking is defined as touch, right? Physical touch. Are you there for your spouse physically? And maybe they don't like to be touched all the time, but I know that for me, when I lay down, I tend to hold stress in my body and not want to let it go. And just Skylar's touch alone can allow myself to let the stress go out of my body. We were laying with each other last night, and I was just touching him, right? And tickling him. And sometimes when we need to connect, I want us to connect skin to skin. I just want to hold him and give him a hug, skin to skin, so that my brain can produce those good hormones. But is there an intimacy between you guys where your touch can heal each other? Your touch can comfort each other? Or do you not want to be touched? Or you haven't even figured out how you want to be touched. So whenever your spouse does it, you do it in like it bothers you, right? And you want to push them away. Is there a place for that in your marriage? Because as kids, we need to be touched, but then as adults, that touch is healing, right? And it's nurturing if you allow it. But that might be triggering for your spouse. So are you aware of that, and are you offering it if they're able to receive it? So this talked about just the 6 basic human needs that we have. Not only as children did we have them, but we have them as adults. But like all of us, some of us didn't get through childhood without being hurt or without being let down or without having some trauma. So some of these needs, although we have them, weren't met. And so it's hard to let someone in and let them meet these needs as an adult. And so if you heard some of these and these aren't present in your relationship and you don't want them to be present, I would challenge you to check in. Is there a reason why I want to move away from these things? If you want to move away from touch, right? Is there something that you brought into the relationship or something that occurred in the relationship that's making you want to move away from that? Because that might be a great place for you to begin healing work and begin you doing work so that you can come into the relationship whole, or as whole as you can be. Because two people that have been hurt in the past, if they stay in that hurt and don't healthily move through it, there's no way that you can experience the oneness that God designed for marriage. And that is so my heart, that you experience the oneness that God designed for marriage. So make sure you're checking out the other videos that are on sex and intimacy, that are on communication, that are on triggers. All of those are on this channel, and many more are to come on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.